Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to make a candle. If you have not made a candle before, don't worry, you're in the right place. I'm going to show you the basics of candle making. So this is not, how to make a perfect candle. Making a perfect candle involves you testing out different waxes, different wicks, different essential oils, different fragrances, etc. Once you have the volume of your vessel, you subtract the percentage and amount of fragrance load essential oils that you're going to be using. So for instance, this was 190 grams volume vessel that we're using, and we wanted to aim for about a 6% fragrance load, which was appropriate for this type of wax, and that worked out to be roughly 11 grams. So then you subtract that from 190. I decided to go with 10 grams of fragrance, so I measured out 180 grams of wax. So 190 grams volume of the vessel minus 6%, which was roughly 10 grams of essential oil, which gave us 180 grams of wax. Get that melting down using a double boiler, and then in the meantime we're going to be securing our wick to the bottom of our vessel. I am using a glue gun. You can also use sticky dots, but I find that a glue gun gives me the best results. Sometimes the sticky dots can start to move when you pour in hot wax. Now we're just using a wick place holder. I'm not sure what the correct word for that is, I've just forgotten. But this helps to keep the wick in place when we are pouring in the wax. If you don't have this, you can kind of make a plan using a chopstick. Not 100% necessary. You can find alternatives to that, but they are really helpful. So the next step now, once your wax has melted, is to check the temperature. We're aiming here for adding our oils at around 60 degrees Celsius. At this point, I begin measuring out my oils. I am using a mil spoon, which is a 5 mil spoon. However, you should be using a gram scale if you have one. Mine wasn't working, so I decided to opt for this option. So I'm roughly getting around 10 grams of oil. However, this is just a candle I'm going to be using at home, so I'm not too fussed about getting the perfect amount of oils in here. I am just testing more the wick at this point than the fragrance. But if you want to be a bit more precise, use a gram scale. I think it is fine though if you are going slightly under your fragrance load. I think there's more concern if you are going over your fragrance load. That's when things can start to get a little bit tricky. You don't want to be overloading your candle with essential oils. It can become a fire hazard, so you do want to be staying within your supplier's recommended guidelines. Now, once you've measured out and added in your essential oils, you want to be stirring the wax and oils really well. You want everything to be nicely incorporated. You don't want an uneven distribution of oils within your wax. So give it a stir for around 30 seconds to a minute. I think the longer you stir, the better, but just stir gently. You don't want to be adding in too much air. You don't want to be adding in any air bubbles or anything like that. So just give it a gentle and steady stir for about a minute. From here, your next job is to check your temperature, and once it reaches about 55 degrees Celsius, you have the go-ahead to pour. Now, when you're pouring, again, we just want slow and steady, and aim for the wick. I think that's just about the best advice I can give you. So enjoy the next few seconds of me pouring. Gorgeous. And now that I've poured this candle, I'm just going to let it set. I'm letting it just sit on my countertop until it starts to cool down. and obviously the edges are where it's going to cool down first. Once it is quite set and stable, you can pop it into the fridge to just further cool it and speed up that cooling process quite a bit. However, you don't want to be moving and disturbing your candle before it is at the stage where it seems to be cool and ready to move. What I am doing now is just unwinding the wick, and now I'm going to trim it. You can do this at a later stage though, it does not have to be done so early in the candle making process. I've just done that so that I have one less thing to worry about. And a note on how it's looking at this stage. So here's my heat gun, and this is what I use to smooth out the tops of candles. As you can see, there were a few tiny little bubbles at the top, and from moving the wick around, I had created a little bit of space in between the wick and the wax. So my heat gun helps to resolve any little issues. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments.